Overthinking in relationships and relationship anxiety can sneak in at completely random times of the day, in the shower, driving to work, and it's usually always a harmless what-if thought that slips into your head. What if they don't really love me? What if I don't really love them? What if I don't want to be with them anymore? And before you know it, you're unraveling the entire relationship in your head, doubting yourself and questioning everything. This is the doubt dilemma, one of 10 rules of relationship anxiety that anxiety has duped you into following without you even knowing it. In this video, I'll share with you how it works and how to stop it before it convinces you that your relationship isn't real and you should end it. My name's Oliver and I'm a psychotherapist here in Los Angeles, and I love helping people overcome their anxiety to grow great relationships. And this is my video series on relationship anxiety, and this rule is a pattern of overthinking in relationships that I call the doubt dilemma, and it really does happen randomly because our brain is constantly throwing up thoughts into our awareness. It's actually our brain's job to make meaning and narrative and to throw these thoughts up, but these particular thoughts are dangerous and usually always start with a what if. What if they don't really love me? What if I've made the wrong choice? What if I actually want to be a monk and be celibate? The what if is a hook that tugs at you in the way that a loose thread on a sweater does, and you pull at it, meaning only to smooth things out, but before you know it, the entire jumper is unraveling in your hands and you're left with a pile of thread. It's also one of anxiety's most cunning rules, and if you want to know more about the 10 rules of relationship anxiety, I highly suggest you take the relationship anxiety quiz that I created, or you can sign up for my newsletter. Either way, you'll get a ton of ideas, insights, and ways to help you grow healthier, happier relationships that are free from anxiety. The tricky thing about this rule of anxiety is that it masquerades as a reasonable question when in fact, it's a self-generated mental tsunami. The doubt dilemma is not about genuine evidence. It's about creating uncertainty where none previously existed. And uncertainty is an anxious person's mortal enemy. So I'll assume you know what gaslighting is, right? It's a phrase from some Hitchcock movie in the 40s in which Ingrid Bergman's character is driven to question her own sanity by her partner. And the way that he does this is by convincing her that the gas lights were bright when he turned them down or vice versa. But the point is, when someone else is making you doubt your reality, it's incredibly disturbing. And when someone else does it, it's actually an act of cruelty that is inflicted on someone. In the doubt dilemma, though, we become our own tormentor and we gaslight ourselves. Those what-if thoughts introduce tiny little fractures into our own reality and our perceptions of it. It's called inferential confusion. And it then becomes a habit to chase down those what-if thoughts, and then you're sliding down a slippery slope into the dark and murky worlds of relationship anxiety. Those what-if questions are rocket fuel for this spiral into uncertainty. I think as a species, we generally dislike uncertainty, like my dog dislikes taking a bath. But for anxious people, we have a very low tolerance for uncertainty. The unknown is dangerous. It makes us feel anxious. In everyday life, uncertainty can be small and survivable, although it still generates anxiety. Will the bus arrive on time? Uncertainty. So you might have to get there early because you don't know for sure. Did they like my presentation? Well, if you dwell on that, that's going to make you anxious. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but you could ask to get more certainty. But in relationships, the uncertainty generated by the doubt dilemma is more of a corrosive kind. Am I even attracted to them? What if this whole relationship is all wrong? And this is the trouble. These questions really don't have a clear or final answer, and there's not so much you can do about it. They're not crossword clues waiting for the right word. It's like asking yourself, is this the most beautiful sunset I will ever see? Well, you can look, but you just don't know. So uncertainty is the mortal enemy of you as a human being and rocket fuel to your anxiety. There is, however, one reliable pattern. The longer we stew in these doubts and these thoughts, the less we actually live and the less likely we are to problem solve. Anxiety is a master of this kind of bait and switch. It tells us that thinking harder will lead to peace, when, in fact, thinking harder on these answerless questions only deepen the groove. So the distinction then that I want to share with you is between doing and stewing. Doing is calling your friend, walking the dog, touching your partner's shoulder, asking about their day. Doing is processing what feelings you have right now towards your partner, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Stewing is just thinking. It's a cognitive pattern that is overthinking, and overthinking is sometimes a function of underfeeling. So if you are replaying the same what if or worst case scenarios, the stories, the mental chatter you're creating, you're not feeling, you're in trash talk, and that generally goes nowhere. Feelings are a source of data. They are information in an emotional form that tells you about your environment, both internally and the external world. If you feel hungry, you might need some food. If you feel lonely, you might need some connection. So we do need to be thinking to some degree about our relationship, absolutely. But we cannot ignore the data that is coming from our emotional world. We need both when you make any decision. You need as much information as possible. So ignoring the information that's coming from your feelings, it's not the most informed decision that you can make. So if you find yourself thinking too much and not taking action, it isn't problem solving, it's problem generating, and that is stewing. If you leave that unchecked, the doubt dilemma doesn't just sap your peace of mind, it reshapes your behavior. So you might start monitoring your partner's tone, avoiding intimacy just in case you're right, or even sometimes provoking arguments to test their reactions to see if they care about you. This can have a very negative impact on your relationship. So the first step is to name it, right? The thing about anxiety is that it is persistent, predictable, and patterned. And the pattern that you might be able to recognize is that these thoughts all start with what if. So spot it, name it, recognize it, and disengage. You do not have to chase that what if thought down. Now, the bigger piece of work that you can do that you might need some help with a therapist is to increase your capacity to tolerate more uncertainty. The unknown is not always a problem to be solved. It's kind of a condition that we need to live with, like gravity, or the fact that you never really know what someone else feels or is thinking in their mind. You just kind of have to take their word for it sometimes. So imagine how you would feel if you stopped chasing an answer that no one can ever get. What might you be free to notice instead? What might you enjoy more of? The doubt dilemma is really less of an enemy that needs to be defeated than it's a trickster that has to be recognized. Its power lies in convincing us that certainty is necessary for love, but in truth, love has always been an act of partial faith. There is no guarantee, there is no certainty, no matter how much you feel for someone. We don't need to have perfect answers to stay in motion or enjoy today. So if you're dating someone, you don't need to be asking if this is the one or wondering if they will turn out to be a serial killer. You just need to ask, what do I feel about them today? Do I enjoy them enough to go on one more date with them? Stay in the moment. So perhaps the question to ask yourself is not what if I'm wrong or what if this isn't right, but what if it is enough and I'm just not noticing? Hit follow and subscribe to learn more about the 10 rules of relationship anxiety. You can take the free quiz to find out more about the rules and how to break them for a healthier, happier relationship and life.